But if you go 10-2, okay, my point is you can go 10-2 and miss the playoffs in the SEC. That is still a possibility.
Hey, friends, it is TexAgs Rewind here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. David Nuno, Nick Savage, and Eric Casares joining me here to talk about the show. Nick, what was the most memorable part of the show?
Probably Eric's women's tennis update, for sure. That's it.
Did you hear his phone go off in the last segment with music, which meant he was definitely scrolling through Instagram?
I did not.
Yeah, it went off, and Billy looked at each other and started to laugh. Eric, I mean, buddy, it was a good show. I thought you did great, but just one of those shows, huh?
Yeah, I guess it was just one thing after another. I mean, I wasn't even watching a video. I literally a notification. I clicked on it and my music just happened to be on.
So what you're saying is you were not 100% focused on the segment itself. Could you imagine Coach Henry seeing that? You're scrolling your phone right before you started a race. Can you imagine that?
No, I mean, I would get in major trouble if that was the case.
Here, though, we laugh about it. It was good times. All right, so that was the most memorable part of the show. But on the show, Eric, what was your favorite part?
My favorite part of the show was Bronny and Schloss talking. I always love hearing about what the baseball has to do and what they're doing. And, obviously going into the postseason really soon. So getting geared up for that, and I'm excited.
All right, Billy Liucci was on the program. We had Schloss, as he mentioned, and Boomer White was on the show. It's the TexAgs Rewind. Check it out.
Sometimes when I'm not covering it and I'm not keeping the notes myself, I might get off, and I'm just reacting to what I think I see instead of sometimes the numbers say no, you're wrong on that, and I acknowledge that. But that's to me that's what's alarming is it seems like. The top of your order, which was so productive, is really struggling over in the last 6 games, and it also really even 7 if you want to throw in that last game against Georgia.
Right. Ant-Man says 4 of the last 5 they've lost, 4 out of the last 6. Both can be true.
Right, until the last – I think he said 4 of the last 5, but I said, yeah, until the last game. It was
right.
4 or 5 until the last game yesterday. So, I think that's the concern. On the other side, again, as I mentioned, the fact that, Schlossnagle said, look, we got to do something different, and he starts Sadeo, and the way Sadeo responded. Now, see, that's another thing to say, okay.
We worried about pitching? Uh-oh, look what we got here.
Right. And, I mean, I love that. And I think even if the numbers that I speculate, that I wonder about, are dramatically subpar, even if they are. I mean, if I'm right on that, it doesn't mean they're going to remain that way. Again, you go through peaks and valleys throughout a long season. You just typically don't want it to happen toward the end of the year. But to your point, well, that was the situation with LSU too, and they won the national championship. In the year before that, it was kind of the situation with Ole Miss throughout the season. Then they won the national championship.
And the year before that, Mississippi State also lost one late.
So you don't panic. It's like we said before, it's okay to get frustrated. But if you're willing to panic and just give up on it, then baseball probably isn't the sport you should be following.
Well, and again, talking to Jim Schlossnagle here on TexAgs Radio. Schloss, if we can talk about Teddy Burton, how good was it to get him back out there and delivering the way he did?
It was just good for the psyche of our team. Teddy had been he'd been telling me that he's, I always say 1 to 10, man. Like, just tell me how you feel. Don't say 9 if it's 7. And just about every day leading up to yesterday, it was like 7, 7.5. And then what was the fearful move? It wasn't hitting or actually really running. It was the mechanism in which he heard it, which was stretching at first base. And so I had already written a lineup out yesterday that didn't have him in it. And we took ground balls before the game, and he started moving around. And he said, Coach, today's the best day. I said, why don't you go out there and run with our trainer and see what you think? And then, obviously, hopefully we'll play good catch. You won't have to stretch, but you don't have to try and leg out any balls. Just see what you can do. So, A, I think it was good for all of us. But B, it lengthens our lineup. That spot came up a lot on the weekend. Guys get comfortable in spots in the lineup, and sometimes if you ask too much of them, it doesn't work out. So feel good about where he is, and hopefully he can get it fully past him. That we, because he can run. I mean, he can steal a base if he need to. He can drop a bunt on you and beat it out. But right now, it's just swinging the bat.
We're going to go back and forth between good topics, bad topics. So we'll go to a really good topic. Shane Sadeo yesterday really giving this team, I think, hope for a third starter.
Oh, my goodness, yes. And the talent's always been there. I think the guy threw his fastball about 89 to 92 miles an hour last year, and early on this year, he was lighting up the gun at 95, maybe even a 97. So I knew the jump was there physically, and his stuff was there. Just for some reason, left a few too many balls over the plate. So just kind of looking for him to piece it together. He had all three pitches working yesterday. The changeup was great. Fastball was great. So they've been looking for that third starter. He's been in a role where he could be a power arm coming out of the pen late, or he could be the guy to give you length. And so when he can give you length, then you can plug him in as a starter. And so I think that would give this pitching staff and Coach Max Weiner, Jim Schlossnagle, nothing but relief to be able to plug him in and have him kind of rise to the occasion.
Yeah, no doubt about it. What do you think about offensively, the lack of walks that we saw this weekend, especially Friday, Saturday, and the amount of strikeouts?
It's worrisome for sure. I think when guys press, that's where it really gets hard. You're not hitting the ball. You're not finding a barrel. You're not feeling something good at the plate, so you're trying to go generate it yourself instead of kind of sticking to the plan that got you there. And so you just get on swing a little more. You miss your pitch in an at bat, or you let one go that you should have gone after, and then you just start to press. You want to go make it happen instead of just letting it happen, I guess. So it is worrisome. I think that when this offense is going best, as Coach Schlossnagle says, you swing at the strikes, you take the balls, and they weren't doing that this weekend very well, and they didn't do it against LSU very well. So I think it's patience and not knowing that, and not feeling like you have to go generate a bunch of fireworks with your bats, rather than just let your talent generate it, when the opportunity is there, which is when the strikes come, you're ready to pull the trigger.
I would take the 9-3. If you open the season beating Notre Dame, generated all that excitement, start the season in front of the whole country, introducing the Mike Elko era, and then go beat Texas in your final game of the season. And if you told me you were going to lose 3 in between versus losing those 2 and going 10-2, I would say I'd rather do the 9.
Well, America agrees with
now, but I said you wouldn't go to the playoff. And I know this is hypothetical, and I know A&M would probably go to the playoff, especially if you beat Texas in that final game, because I do think Texas is going to be not the best, but really good this year. I think they're going to be right there, and they'll probably be in the playoff field with whether it's 0-1 or 2 losses even. But if you go 10-2, okay, my point is you can go 10-2 and miss the playoffs in the SEC. That is still a possibility because Ole Miss, you don't play. They could go 10-2 or better. Georgia, I'm going to go 10-2 or better. And Texas certainly could do it. Alabama can do it. I'm not saying that all 4 LSU could probably do it. I don't think they will. I think they're a little overrated. But
they had this easier schedule.
Any of those 4, not to mention a Missouri. There's 5 teams, in my opinion, that could finish 10-2 or better this year. And if A&M were to replace one of them, you could be 10-2 and be 5th on that peck. Somebody would be. I mean, I haven't just studied the schedule of who plays who and who could do it. But most certainly Ole Miss, Georgia, and Texas, without studying who plays who, could do it, and then A&M would be the 4th team.
Well, let me ask you that, because if you're 10-2 with those losses to Notre Dame and Texas, that would include a win over LSU, a win over Missouri.
And that's probably all that would really matter of your wins.
Yeah.
So your resume would be, okay, you might beat an 8-4 LSU team. They lose to A&M. You might 9-3. Oh, they beat 9-3 LSU, and they beat 9-3 Missouri. Now you're comparing resumes to other teams, not just within your league, but around the country. I think any SEC team will get in at 10-2. I bet 80% of the time they would.
Can you see a 9-3 team getting in?
Yeah, at some point I could. But problem with that is how many of these SEC teams are going to be ahead of you when you finish 9-3. You know, and then how many of these teams in the Big Ten are going to be 10-2, 11-1? Is there going to be a Clemson or a Florida State sitting at 11-1? Is there going to be, a Big 12 team that's 11-1 and wins the Big 12 title? So,
all right, let's close it out, Erica. What can you tell us about women's tennis, though?
Women's tennis. They are advancing to the Elite Eight after upsetting the defending national champions, UNC. Best of luck to them as they take on Virginia this Friday in the Elite Eight matchup. Mark Weaver, good luck to the crew. And like I said, I'm very sorry that I did not catch that in the first segment.
One more update. If you can give us an update on rodeo.
No way you're doing this to me right now.
Nick, tell the people what to do.
Like, comment, subscribe, share, subscribe to TexAgs.com. Follow us on all of our socials. And go get you some Aggie baseball merch at Olin Field on Thursday.
What did he say? North Carolina. Wow.
How about that?
See you next time.